Welcome to Speaking Cinema, series movie Jibber Jabber, a movie podcast, coming to you from a no-tell motel somewhere on the outskirts of Stubbsville, Hollywood, California.
Took the people train to get here.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Speaking Cinema, listen to us Jibber Jabber, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. I am your host, Mr. Jibber Jabber. Joining me as always, everyone's least hated shower, curtain, ring salesman, Kev.
That's me. You need some shower curtain rings?
They're just the ring, not the actual...
Yeah, just the ring.
No, my rings are good. I need a new,
Right.
new sheet.
IKEA's got good ones.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cheap, too.
Cheap,
But
huh?
lasts a long time.
Yeah, I feel like they always
Plastics.
I feel like they always get gross though. They get a little.
Yeah, that's why you buy a couple.
That's your strategy. You have multiples. You just toss them away. That was like back in the day when you had a CD player in your car, but you didn't have an actual CD deck, so you had like your Walkman and then the tape thing.
Yep.
Those tape things would break on you on a dime, and then you needed a new one immediately.
Yep.
And eventually, I ended up buying 5 of them at a time.
Yep. Also, those things are voodoo. I have no idea how they work.
Nope.
No one will ever know.
No one will ever know. This week on the Jibber Jabber, what he really wanted was to spend Thanksgiving with his family. What he got was 3 days with the turkey. 1987's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Starring Steve Martin and John Candy. Written and directed by John Hughes. Produced by Hughes Entertainment. Distribution, Paramount. Plot summary. A man must struggle to travel home for Thanksgiving with an obnoxious slob as his only companion.
This is our first, probably the only Thanksgiving movie I could find for our holiday extravaganza that we're currently having.
I've done some research, and I think for next year, I got
some lined up.
I got Christie, which is a Thanksgiving themed slasher movie,
Interesting.
and because we need more slasher movies.
Of course.
Speaking of slasher movies, we got Your Next, which is people.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one, but I think that's it's Thanksgiving tangentially, but we're gonna do some research.
Yep.
Thanksgiving.
But in terms of a pure just takes place on Thanksgiving is kind of about Thanksgiving movie, this is kind of the only one I could find.
Yeah.
But that's why I wanted to do it. And besides, it's a classic. Comedy classic.
Which, spoiler alert, I've never seen. Background on this movie, John Hughes. This was John Hughes' first non-teenage focused film that he directed. His script was reportedly 145 pages. Most screenplays about 90 pages. Most pages are about 1 minute. So
most 80s comedies would be
about 90 pages, 90 minutes. Yeah.
100, and it's like, okay, we got some shit, but we need to cut it out.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of shot a lot of shit and need to cut it out, he shot enough footage to make a 3+ hour movie. And the rumor is that Paramount Vault has, right next to the Friday the 13th series Filmmasters, a 3-hour cut in there.
Wow. I would like to see that.
I also would like for them to do a restoration. Scream Factory, where are you at? Get into that Paramount Vault. Let's see that Friday the 13th, the series.
Do it. Do it.
I just like slasher movies.
We know. We know this.
Fuck. The shoot was quite challenging for a number of reasons. The film's set is Wichita, Kansas, around Thanksgiving, but they kept losing snow to unseasonably warm weather and had to truck all the snow in. Ooh, trucking in snow.
They do that in Fargo as well.
Really?
Anytime a movie shoots and they need snow and they go to a place where it's like, yeah, it'll snow here, it's always high.
You can't just use an industrial snow machine?
Not if you're doing like vast expanses of snow, then you can't really get away with it, so.
No actual plane, train, or automobile company wanted their logo in the movie since they are all shown as being incompetent. Production had to use an old train from the train scenes and had to create logos and uniforms for the plane and car rental scenes, ballooning the budget significantly. I feel like the logos and uniforms weren't the balloon. I feel like the having to find and rent a train.
Repurpose a train.
Yeah. Repurpose a non-working train. That's probably... you probably gotta bust out the checkbook for that.
Yep.
This couple with Hughes' notoriously cantankerous working manner should have made for a total disaster. And the end of the story that it did. Good night! But it didn't. The film was a smash hit, critically acclaimed. Roger Ebert included it in his seminal Great Movies book. Steve Martin and John Candy said it's their favorite film they've ever made, but I don't really believe anything that Steve Martin says.
Why don't you believe anything he says?
I'm just saying he's a He's a trickster.
All right.
No, I believe him. Yeah, why not? He's no reason to lie. Interesting bit of trivia. Bing Bong from Inside Out. Sad deaths. Christmas time. Was modeled after John Candy's performance in this movie, according to Pixar's Pete Docter. Interesting.
There you go. Listen to that Inside Out episode, everybody.
It's a great movie that will make you want to kill yourself. As of this recording, the movie is streaming on Netflix. It's available on DVD and Blu-ray, digital rental, and digital purchase through all major retail outlets.
It is very easy to access.
Get it on Vudu. The EST platform for this week is Vudu.
Voodoo.
VUDU. Also, ridiculous. Why would you name your thing something that you can't spell easily?
Welcome to Silicon Valley.
Well, let's get it from Vudu. Okay, cool. Vudu Media Services. Oh, VUDU, son of a bitch. That's how that Google search goes.
Yep.
Have you seen this movie, Kev?
This movie is a staple at the Merritt household when I was growing
The
up.
Merritt Estate,
The Merritt estate, the sprawling estate,
the Beach House Estate, or the House of the Mountains
the
Estate?
suburban estate.
The cabin? Oh no,
at the foothills of Browns Mountain in the equestrian area of Spokane, Washington.
Also, when I went to a private Catholic high school, and I realized when I had my family had less money than everyone was when people were talking about like their summer houses, and I'm like, oh,
That's not just your
you
house.
have two houses.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yes.
Go ahead.
But yeah, a staple at the house. It's a timeless movie. I think it's classic. It's funny. It's moving. It's a great film.
I've never seen it. I think it used to be on Comedy Central, but I don't think I ever
yeah.
watched it.
They showed it all the time.
I feel like it was a double feature with Throw Mama from the Train.
Yep.
And
Back when Penn Jillette was their like announcer person.
yeah.
Yeah.
Coming up next on Comedy Central.
Yep. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah. So I've never seen it. I've heard of it, but I don't really have any familiarity with it.
Well, you're in for a treat.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of John Hughes? He only directed 8 movies in his career, and he wrote a lot of them, and very influential, a bit controversial.
How was he controversial?
He's the guy who did like 13 Candles and all that, right?
Yeah. 16 candles.
13 candles. Jesus Christ. I'm out of here.
16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
There are friends on...
Weird Science.
And this is a thing that I say every 5th episode. Our friends on the canon were talking about him. And there's an interesting thing that he does with, like, rich white kids who have everything except for, like, happiness, like, that's, like, through the pitfalls of society. You know what I mean? And then they get that somehow. And also, you know, his all of his minority characters are, like, horribly racist.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the 80s. What, Long Duck Dong wasn't racist?
From what I understand... That's an insensitive way to represent Asian people. From what I understand.
I know many Asian friends who say, "No more Yankee, my wanky."
Yeah, but what context is that in? I mean, his movies... I mean, like, you know, he taps into this... I think the reason why the movies work is he taps into the zeitgeist of teenage angst. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how they hold up, is because he actually does penetrate that veil of, like, this is what... the anxiety is about. It's just like, you know, it's like his movies aren't about like his movies are about, you know, like rich white kids, you know what I mean? Which, you know,
I grew up in suburban Chicago.
Right.
It's right what you know. It's
true, but I mean, this is a criticism I think you could lob at everyone, because like, why is everyone on, you know, the blacklist? You know what I mean? Why is anyone on any show? You know what I mean? It's like it's one of those things where you hold a mirror up to this one guy because he's popular, but like it's kind of like, well, everyone does do this. You're signaling him out because he's successful.
Yeah.
But I know, and truth be told, I've only ever seen Breakfast Club. I've never seen any of those other movies.
You've never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, I've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Okay, I was
Sorry.
a little worried.
Sorry, I'm confusing.
That would void this whole podcast.
I've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I've seen the second half of The Breakfast Club, and I've seen clips of everything else. So
you've seen the popcorn scene in Weird Science.
Yeah. Oh, I did see. Wait, is Weird Science the one with Val Kilmer?
Yeah.
I've seen Weird Science.
All right.
I'm clearly not familiar with him, and it's not going to matter. We're going to watch this movie anyways. And I do want to go back and for this podcast, 16 Candles is in the queue of things to do as we get into the new year. So I am curious about his movies, you know what I mean? But
he has a famous quote people always asked him, like, how do you write teenagers so well? He said, I don't treat them as subhumans. So it's like
I like that.
he really looked into their issues as like real issues, and that they're people going through things that an adult wouldn't really an adult who grew up in like the 50s and 60s wouldn't really understand somebody growing up in the 70s and 80s.
Right. And I don't mean to judge him. I'm relaying what they said on the canon poorly. I don't really have an opinion on him left or right or either way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of like, his movies exist. Long Duck Dong, has not held up, and that's it. You know what I mean? But people do love these movies. He also wrote Drillbit Taylor and Beethoven under the pseudonym Edmond Dantes.
Yeah.
Why? Just cuz?
Probably for the money, they paid well. Edmond Dantes, of course, the main character of The Count of Monte Cristo.
Ah, yes.
But yeah, he wrote a lot of like those kind of movies. Beethoven, I think Flubber he wrote.
Oh no.
Under Edmond Dantes. So, I mean, yeah, it pays well, and I think he got kind of burned out after Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and became a little more exclusive.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, that was probably a way to keep his bankroll going, but not draw people to his name all the time.
You said that he had a cantankerous style. What can you say about that?
I couldn't find when everybody just said he was rough to work with. Just probably,
but no one wanted to give details, huh?
He didn't treat teenagers like subhumans, but probably treated everybody else like subhumans. So,
yeah. We had no respect for the grips.
Apparently. So, yeah, there's a lot of kind of half stories out there about him being very difficult to work with. But, his movies were seminal, and people did kind of stick with him through his whole career. So it's a way, maybe just when he was on set, it was stressful. I don't know if he had any kind of mental illness, but there was like maybe a hint of something maybe wrong with him, and then that's what led to him being so recluse till the end of his life. So yeah, I looked everywhere to be like, well, what has he actually done on set? And I really couldn't find anything. So, just a general cantankerous manner.
Interesting. Steve Martin and John Candy, are you fans of them?
Oh, yeah.
You have been quoted as saying Steve Martin is an undisputed comedic genius.
I think that is completely true.
Mm-hmm. And we all know John Candy had a diverse career starring both comedies and dramas, Cool Runnings being the pinnacle of his career, and died of a heart attack in the middle of filming Wagons East. Sad, kind of a sad story.
It is. But, again, I grew up with John Candy movies in my house all the time.
Stripes.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Dude, we had Stripes all the time. I think that was the first movie I ever saw boobs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Michael Moore directed that movie.
No, you're thinking of Canadian Bacon.
Oh, really? Damn it.
Ivan Reitman did Stripes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
yes, Michael Moore did do Canadian Bacon, starring
Bacon.
John Candy.
Yeah, okay. That's where I'm going.
And then he was in JFK. It's like, there's some out-of-the-world casting right there. So he was really good in JFK, too. And yeah, I think Steve Martin is just brilliant writer and brilliant comic performer. The Jerk is without a doubt one of the funniest movies ever made.
You like that?
Yeah, love The Jerk. So, and his music's pretty good too. I believe they're the Steep Canyon Rangers. It's his like bluegrass band, and they are quite good. He's quite the banjo player.
And also, he collects art now, right? That's a big thing, right?
Does he?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And his wife looks like Tina Fey.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Interesting that he was on a 30 Rock episode as well. Glasses fetish much?
Yeah. Like that hair short and he likes those glasses thick. So this movie is considered one of the better road trip movies ever made. What do we look for in a road trip movie?
A good adventure. An adventure that we could all go on.
I think that's the X factor. Is it something that you want to be a part of? You want to be in that van.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
We could, we want to do Lord of the Rings. I don't know, maybe. But we want to go on that adventure. But something that's a seminal American road trip movie, we could actually go do that.
Right. Well, that's my problem with Lord of the Rings, is that there's one journey there that I definitely want to be on, which is the human, the elf, and the dwarf, right? Because they're just like,
We're gonna kill shit.
We're just gonna fucking mess this whole continent up. And then there's a real emo fucking car ride going on the other side of the continent. And, you know, that's just like people complaining, and are we there yet? And like, there's this guy that we picked up, we don't like him, etc. So, I'm with you with this. Kev, tell me about, do you have a best or worst road trip you've ever taken?
Oh, man. So many. I think this is why I latch on to road trip movies. My dad and I used to go on road trips all the time. I mean, the whole family would go sometimes too, but my dad and I did a lot on our own. A really good one I did recently was 2 years ago. Me and my friends, we drove from LA to Berkeley to go see Washington State, kick the shit out of Cal, and then the very next day we watched the 49ers kick the shit out of the Texans. And it was a great trip, and we had a lot of fun. And it was a great, not that we didn't need a bonding experience, but one of my friends flew down from Washington to come do it. And it was just one of those great times that we had that we're never going to forget. So, yeah.
That's cool. For me, I think I drove from the Bay Area all the way up to Seattle for my girlfriend to go look at graduate school. That was just a fun trip, like nothing special. It was like a business trip, but it was just fun. Driving through the snow, figuring out how fucking it's like you can't pump your own gas in
Oregon.
Yeah, and how it's like
that shit sucks.
Well, it's like you think like, okay, so they're gonna give that, it's raining, so they're gonna give the guy a poncho, but they'll give him a poncho with like the gas station logo on it.
Yeah.
So you think this guy's just standing on the island, and he's like, "Don't get out of your car," and it's like, "Huh?" He's like, "I'll pump your gas." It's like, "Huh? Do you work here?" It's just a mess. It's just a mess.
Yep.
But it was fun. We went to like Pike's Market.
Pike's Place.
Yeah. The guy's throwing some fish.
Yep. Gotta see the fish throw.
Went to the original Starbucks. Got a brew.
Yep.
It was good. It's cold. Get some Starbucks.
Yep. That's Seattle for you. It's
Yeah.
always cold. And yeah, you got to figure out the road trip snack menu too. That's important.
I want to take a road trip to a haunted weird place.
That'd be cool.
We got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Where though?
I've been to the Winchester Mansion already.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
That's kind of near where you already live, though. Right?
Yeah, it's in the Bay Area. That's
Right.
Yeah. But who cares?
It's fun.
We can
let's go do
You can
it.
stay at my mom's house for free.
All right, we're going on a road trip.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. But yeah, I always do beef jerky,
Oh, okay.
Oreos,
Oh no.
Pringles,
Back on track.
water.
Good.
Usually there's a soda or a Gatorade in there somewhere, but that's usually the road trip menu in my truckster.
Interesting. Pringles specifically because of the can, because it's easy to contain.
Easy to contain. They don't break. Get a whole big old fat stack of them, and they're not too greasy and like getting everywhere. So yeah, Pringles.
Well, okay. That's a good. I think that's a good.
Usually 2 flavors.
I think it's a good snack mix.
Yep. And then always the MP3 with the road trip mix on it.
Yeah. No audiobooks. You don't mess around with audiobooks.
No, I
Harry
don't.
Potter.
Nah.
All right.
I'm a music man.
What do you rock? What's give me like a
I like to just take my MP3 player and put it on shuffle.
just anything
And
anything that's
and
on
just
there.
Go. It could be Metallica 1 minute, Lady Gaga the next minute, Simon and Garfunkel.
Lady Gaga, interesting, Kevin. It would make you for
Those first 2 albums are pretty damn good.
Listen, you could do a lot worse pop wise.
Art pop. What happened?
It's the maniacal edge. You always need the maniacal edge.
I think that's why I like her. She's just a little unhinged.
Yeah, it's like there's like any minute now she's gonna be like, fucking wearing a meat dress, and you're like, I'm down for meat dresses.
I'm all for that.
Hungry. Rapid fire. John Hughes in Thanksgiving edition. Better John Hughes Rebel, Ferris Bueller, or John Bender? John Bender from what?
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club.
He's the guy at the end. It's freeze frame. Don't you? Ferris Bueller.
I'm gonna say John Bender because he has a sweet boot with the fucking
The buckles.
no. It has the bandana on the boot.
Oh yeah.
Gotta keep your boot warm.
That's right. Yep.
Can't let the dust get in the boot. Molly Ringwald or Mia Sara from Ferris Bueller?
I always like Mia Sara from Ferris Bueller.
I hate to do this to you, but I gotta go with Ali Seedy because I am just into the goth chicks.
Yeah, she's pretty cute too.
Apple pie, pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie. With a little bit of whipped cream.
I've softened on my love of pumpkin pie.
You probably had some bad pumpkin pie.
Do you eat it hot or eat it cold?
You can do it both ways.
But when
I prefer it hot.
When it's hot, it just turns into goop.
Not really.
I mean, some bad apple
You're
pie.
eating some shitty apple.
So I'm gonna pumpkin pie.
pie.
So I'm gonna go with apple pie. Stuffing or sweet potatoes? Wait, also, what kind of sweet potatoes? Mashed sweet potatoes? Diced sweet potatoes? What are we messing around with here?
Doesn't matter because it's stuffing is the correct answer.
Stuffing can be easily ruined with the inclusion of dried fruit.
Oh yeah. No,
Gross.
awful.
Gross.
Awful.
Gross.
What are you doing? My mom makes a sausage stuffing.
Ooh.
Holy shit.
Does it get crispy or is it kind of more wet?
Oh no, it's crispy.
See, I think you have good Thanksgiving food.
Yeah.
Historically, Thanksgiving's been a hit or miss holiday in my house. Turducken, brilliant culinary discovery or abomination?
I think it's an abomination.
It's an abomination. Listen, meat's good enough by itself, all right? Let's not get stupid.
You know what you get if you get a pheasant, a duck, and a chicken? A fucking.
You know what you get when you get all of those things? Dry breasts. Which, you know what I hate? Dry poultry. There's no excuse for dry poultry.
Dry poultry is vile and disgusting.
Yeah. And also people are like, oh, just hit it with the sauce. No, you fucking idiot. It's not going to fix the problem.
Oh.
The chemical, it's not...
It's bad.
Long duck dong or ducky? I'm going to say fuck them both.
Yeah, Ducky was an asshole too. Everybody's like, oh, she should have gotten with Ducky at the end. Wrong! Ducky sucks.
Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me, or Oingo Boingo, Weird Science?
I'm going to Oingo Boingo.
I'll go Simple Minds, but I'm not mad at either decision.
The Oingo Boingo, I was listening to some of them the other day. They have a lot of great songs.
Okay, I'm very interested actually with you, what you were going to say about this. Turkey or ham as the main dish for Thanksgiving dinner?
I'm going ham.
Interesting.
I love me some turkey. If you ever had deep fried turkey,
Okay.
incredible.
I'm glad you said that too. I will also go ham. I've never had a deep fried turkey, but I'm oven turkey. Like, I've never been impressed with the spice, man. It's like it never tastes like anything.
It's just, yeah, it's kind of just turkey.
I also want to see a smoked turkey.
That's also very good.
So,
yeah, deep fried turkey. If you don't burn your house down, it's pretty tasty.
also someone told me that if you smoke something, it makes it carcinogenic.
No.
I'm like, if that's true, then I don't want to live in this world.
Yeah. I'll die at 65. That means I get to eat ribs.
What this movie? We say if you've seen it, you say if you like it or don't like it. If you haven't seen it, say if you want to see it. John Hughes, Steve Martin, John Candy, Road Trip Edition, 16 candles. I want to see it.
Want to see it? I've never seen it.
The Jerk.
Great.
Never seen it. Want to see it. Need to see it. Cool Runnings.
Classic. Fun.
It was like my favorite movie when I was like in 4th grade. I don't know how it's held up.
Yeah. I have not seen it in many years.
Jamaica has a bobsled team. Nobody can believe.
Field de Rhyme.
Thelma and Louise.
Fantastic film.
I just don't want to. I mean, I've seen it, but it's like I'm good. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to see it again.
My Boy Ridley, damn it.
Yeah, well, Breakfast Club.
Good, but I don't think it's held up aesthetically. I think it's a little too trapped in the 80s.
Bowfinger.
It's a fun movie.
Eddie Murphy, huh?
Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin.
Steve Martin.
Yeah. Fake personages. Go see it.
Nah, I'm not interested. I don't care.
Oh, man.
Canadian Bacon.
It's a funny movie. It's kind of like a on-the-nose political cartoon, but it is fun.
Little Miss Sunshine.
Good film.
It's a good movie. It's a weird movie that's like, why? How is this an independent movie? It's like the most mainstream idea
It's pretty
ever.
straightforward.
You know, it's like that was like the time where we realized that like, oh, Hollywood doesn't want to make this shit anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Although I don't know if a mainstream movie could ever get away with the ending of that film.
Which what?
Abigail Breslin dancing to Rick James.
Oh yeah. Weird Science.
It's a fun movie.
It's a fun movie. It's not great, but
And it
it's
created the song Weird Science, which is a great song.
L.A. Story. I don't even think I know what this is.
That's a Steve Martin film. I've seen bits and pieces. It's kind of an LA satire, but I've never seen the whole thing. I'll probably appreciate it more now that I actually live here.
Uncle Buck.
It's a good, basic movie. Nothing special.
Never heard of it. Motorcycle Diaries. This is a Che Guevara movie.
Yeah, Che Guevara before he was Che Guevara. Good adventure movie.
I think it was good at its time, but I feel like, we've kind of...
I don't know if it's held up.
Yeah, it's like,
They
Also, they really do make him out to be the ending thing. It's like American forces were responsible for Che Guevara. It's like they forgot to mention the part where he killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it was right to kill him, and I'm not saying that like he had no reason. I'm just saying it's a little bit more complicated than what that movie presents.
Exactly.
There's also a scene where a guy has like $1 and he like makes like $500 gambling. And And I'm like, come the fuck on.
Yep. That's some Slumdog Millionaire shit right there.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Great.
It is good. There's an argument that I've heard where people argue that Ferris is a sociopath because he doesn't listen to what anyone has to say about anything.
He's a kid.
But it is a
teenager.
It's a fun movie. It doesn't exist in the real world. That's like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's the whole point. It's like a heightened reality.
Yeah, it's like, it's like apparently a day in this world lasts like 100 hours.
Yep.
Because they like,
He gets a lot done in that day.
Yeah.
Also, I went to Ferris High School, and so that was always kind of associated with like our high school because it was Ferris and Ferris.
Did you guys like sing a lot of Save Ferris songs or?
Yeah, I mean, Save Ferris was always a meme before memes were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Three Amigos.
It's fun. I don't think it's the comedy classic a lot of people do.
Samesies. Stripes.
Fun movie. Not Bill Murray's finest hour, but one of his funnier hours.
Road Trip.
I remember liking it when I was a teenager because Amy Smart's boobs. Don't know if it's held
You
up,
can't
though.
see this, listener, but I'm pointing at Kev and winking. Don't know if it's held up either. Euro Trip, I think the same thing.
Yeah.
Although that Euro Trip was one with Scotty Doesn't Know, right? With Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Yeah. That moment is worth that whole movie, though.
Yep.
He made that movie with that shit. JFK.
Dense, sprawling political thriller. I like it a lot.
Never seen it.
Just check it out.
Flubber.
Another movie in line with Cool Runnings.
I'm gonna say no.
It was it has amusing parts. I like when the water heater blows out of his house and falls on the lawn. For some reason, I find that very amusing.
Little Shop of Horrors.
God, I have not seen that in a million years.
Yeah, I feel like I saw that like on Saturday morning one day,
Yep.
and then that was it.
Yeah, I need to watch it again.
Spaceballs.
Still funny. Still a classic.
I rewatched it a couple of years ago, and I was like, damn, I don't think any of this shit is funny anymore.
Yep. I agree. It's funny from a nostalgia factor, but yeah, it's definitely not Mel Brooks' best. How by a long shot.
Pretty in Pink. Never seen it.
Never seen it.
Imama Tu Tambien.
Oh, Itu Mama Tambien.
Yeah. Oh,
Did I type it wrong?
Itu Mama Tambien, right?
Yeah. All right. Say it one more time.
Itu Mama Tambien.
I did not like this movie.
I mean, it's one of those movies where it's really artistic, and I mean, it came in my life in a time where I was looking for movies that were very different. But I mean, there's not one likable character in that movie at all.
No. Don't like it. And really, they couldn't jack off anywhere but a diving board. Come on, boys.
Well, hey, it's not, there's not nowhere else to do it. There's nowhere better to do it.
All right. Don't knock it until you try.
I think we're going to have to end it there. Let's hit the road. Here we go.
Here we go.
And we're back.
We're back.
Kev, how are you?
Doing good. Having a great time.
I went to the dentist today.
Oh boy.
Took a lot out of me. It was a 12:30 appointment, so I couldn't eat beforehand, obviously, because you don't want to show up to the dentist. I had to get 2 cavities filled, which required 2 different mouth shots. Not a fan of those.
Ooh.
Shot in the mouth. Needle.
Brush your teeth, kids.
Yeah.
You don't need those.
No, the lesson that I never learned, which is no one's fault other than my own completely, because my mom is very militant about this, but the flossing is
Gotta
what got
floss.
me. And then also I didn't go to the dentist for 5 years. It's a long story, but basically he filled it, he numbs my mouth and he's like, don't eat for 4 hours. So I'm like, so I'm not going to eat from basically like...
You haven't had breakfast.
Yeah.
At lunchtime you go to the dentist, not eating anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't get to eat till like 5 o'clock.
Right. And I had a Frosty, which is not exactly nutritious.
It's Friday.
But it is Friday, so that's a plus.
And if it's Friday, you know what that means. Planes, trains, and automobiles, right? Isn't that a thing people do?
We did it. How'd you do it?
I own the DVD, but I watched it on Netflix so I could have it in high definition.
It's a simpler thing to do also.
It really is.
No discs to put in or take out. Just fire it up.
Don't even need to leave my couch.
I also watched it. With friend of the show and current love of my life, Emily, on the couch here that we're currently sitting on. I was sitting where you were sitting. She was sitting where I'm sitting.
You were on the chaise, huh?
I was definitely rocking the shades.
Nice.
The Shays Lounge.
I aspire to have a Shays Lounge someday.
It's something to worth it's worth having. It really is.
It will happen sometime.
You know what I mean?
Soon. I'm hoping.
Yeah. I mean, you could always get a stool of some sort, but it's just not the same.
Nah. I want a Shays.
Yeah, you want the Shays.
I want a stool.
Yep. So yeah, watch it on Netflix. Like on last Tuesday. Kev, what happens in this movie?
Plot of this movie: Neil Page, played by Steve Martin, advertising executive, probably Don Draper-esque. He's in.
There's a very strong Mad Men feel in this movie. No, it's not.
Like for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's in New York. He's trying to get home to Chicago. And so begins his adventure to get home to Chicago. He's going to be late for a flight. That's his first problem. His cab gets stolen.
Also, just real quick, he's trying to get home for Thanksgiving.
For Thanksgiving dinner. So trying to be home in time for Thanksgiving dinner. He tries to hail a cab. He misses a cab. He thinks he has a cab, has to bribe a guy to get a cab. That cab gets taken and stolen, basically. Mm-hmm. He finally gets to the airport. He gets there right at 6 o'clock when his flight is. The second he gets there, his flight is delayed. And he would have been screwed either way. So he's basically $75 out. He's already fucked over. At the airport, he runs into Del Griffith, played by John Candy. Mm-hmm. Recognizes him as the person that stole his cab. Del Griffith is a very happy-go-lucky, eager to please kind of guy.
Mustached man.
Mustached, very rotund person. Opposite of clean-cut man of privilege Neil, who he has a first-class ticket. He's an ad exec. Spending money. Money's kind of no object to him. Del Griffith is a shower curtain salesman.
Shower curtain hook
Shower
salesman.
curtain ring salesman.
Ring salesman,
Excuse me,
yes.
Shower curtain ring salesman. He finally gets on the plane. He has a first class ticket. They bump him to coach after much arguing. And who does he sit next to? Oh my god, it's Del Griffith on the plane. And then that kind of kicks off their buddy adventure. Chicago O'Hare is having a terrible snowstorm. Their flight gets diverted to Wichita, Kansas. And then it's the continuing adventures of them trying to get from Wichita to Chicago via planes, trains, and automobiles, all of which are run by incompetent companies and various things that befell them on their journey home. The film wraps up. They do get to Chicago
on Thanksgiving morning. So he's just barely getting in there. They take the L train, or Neil takes the L train to his house, and then he kind of reflects on the adventure, and he realizes Del is homeless, and he has nowhere to go. Right.
And so he takes the train back to the station, sees him just sitting there on his trunk, and he brings him home after much aggravation, and as much as he's tried to convince himself he doesn't like Del, and Del is not somebody he wants to be a friend with, brings him home for Thanksgiving so that he can have a true family Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And their adventure involves burning cars, shitty hotels, dogs in the back of pickup trucks, freezer trucks,
broken trains,
the general assholeness of clerks at car rental and airlines, theft, running out of money, all kinds of...
And the misery that is... winter.
Yes, winter in Wichita, Kansas.
Because here on the Jibber Jabber, we're summer enthusiasts. All about summer. It's all about, and also in LA, we are spoiled because summer is approximately 6 months of the year, and then we have this other
slightly cold spring. I like to call it.
Yeah, we have. It's a season that really a slightly cold spring is probably the most accurate way to sum it up. It's kind of a season where it gets cold and then it gets warm again, and then we're back to summer.
Yep.
But I mean, it is miserable, guys.
You can't just feel bad for us, please. All the time.
I'm just saying, I wanted to. There's parts of this movie where I just wanted to shout at people. There's a better place to live.
As someone who is from one of those worst places to live, I very much relate to. Yeah, you don't have your gloves, and you have to plan that out, and your car's not going to start, and you do have to worry about your flight getting delayed because it's snowing where you're going, and that sucks.
Yeah, at work this week, I forgot my jacket, and walking from the parking structure to the building, I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot my jacket. It's gonna be like a 45-second walk. I'll be okay.
Not true in some places.
No.
It's negative 10.
Yeah. I believe that's a joke. How cold is it? 0 or 1?
1.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So, Kev, normally I ask you what'd you think of this movie, but this time I'm going to start.
You do it.
So I'm going to answer your question for me and say I was apprehensive when you chose this movie.
All right.
Not because of anything I had heard specifically about this movie. This movie is beloved. But I didn't want a Bobo road trip movie with gross out humor. I didn't want like an Ashton Kutcher kind of affair.
Yeah.
That movie did with Brittany Murphy where they go around, you know what I'm talking about? Just Married, I believe.
Yeah, Just Married.
I didn't want that. You know what I mean? I didn't want something stupid.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where this genre can go. That's the pitfall of the genre, right? When it goes stupid and when it goes like, when it kind of builds up and builds up and builds up and then someone gets mad at someone and then we all feel bad and then they try to wrap it up in 20 minutes and it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Imagine my delight when this movie was not that.
Uh-huh.
It's great. This movie's great.
It really is. It's an incredibly, again, it's silly humor, but it has really good jokes, like really well-written jokes, but they don't work without really well-written characters or well-performed characters, and that's what really has this movie blow every other 80s comedy out of the water. Is
Right.
The performances.
Yeah, it's
and
good.
the writing.
That's all there is to say.
It's Steve Martin is great. You know, he's not just he's not just an asshole, and he could
Yeah.
have just been that. He has a humanity streak in him, but he's a man of creature comforts. He has his first class ticket. He's his ad man. He's got a real nice house in Chicago that we see. You know, when he's trying to communicate with his wife.
Right.
You know, he has like a happy home life, and a guy like Del Griffith his natural reaction is just to turn him away, because he's just so happy-go-lucky. He's such a Midwestern type guy who he'll talk your ear off, and it's just not what he's used to. And then you counterbalance that with Del Griffith, who is very eager to please. He's jolly in a way, but John Candy plays him. You can see a lot of hurt in him. It's like it's coming from a place where he doesn't want to disappoint people, and that's kind of a sad place to come from. We realize it is a sad place. He has this picture of his wife. We find out his wife's been dead for 8 years.
And he's been on the road ever
And
since.
he's been on the road
Presumably.
ever since, selling shower curtain rings.
Right. And what you're kind of getting at is what separates this from the Bobo movies I'm talking about, and generally 80s comedies in general, right? Where it's like, there's a worse version of this where we love Steve Martin's character and we don't like Del, and we don't understand why Del is here, where Del is a burden, and Steve Martin's such a nice guy and he's so perfect, and then it builds and builds and builds and builds, and then he says, hey, fuck you, and then, oh no, I shouldn't have said that, and whatever, right?
Yep.
That is not what's going on. And that movie sucks.
Yep.
That's not what's going on here. What's going on here is they're both flawed characters, right? Del is sometimes really gross and crass and lame, right?
His throat clearing.
Oh my god. A lot of those noises in this movie, and they're disgusting. But Steve
But
Martin,
he kind of realizes it too. He's always like, "Oh, sorry."
yeah, that was funny where he was.
He smokes. He dribbles on himself.
Yeah.
He has to make disgusting throat clearing sounds. But he's always thinking ahead of like, "Oh, sorry. It's just if I don't do this, I'll just snore."
Right.
And taking his shoes off, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
my god!"
On the plane, taking your
On
shoes
the
off.
plane.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but at the same time, Steve Martin is also a shitty guy, right? What you just said. He's a guy of creature comforts. He doesn't really. Once his things don't go his way, he acts very poorly.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like he's not good at going with the flow.
Yeah, in a no better exemplified in one scene where 18 fucks are dropped.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in 1 second. But yes, that is that exemplifies character. But at the same time, both of them are also legitimately funny and legitimately people you could root for, right? And then they go back and forth. And what's good about this is that the movie, you know, they'll piss each other off and then they'll yell at each other and blow off some steam, and then we'll move on to the next set piece, and then we've kind of started over again, which gives this movie this momentum that fits into the category of movie it is, which is a road trip movie. So we keep moving the story along.
Yep.
So we'll split them up, we'll bring them back together, they'll yell at each other, they'll go do something, they'll make some money, they'll lose some money, etc., etc., etc. So that's what separates it. It's a more thoughtful movie in terms of the action, and not the physical action, but the action in terms of what's literally happening is just smarter than other movies in this genre.
It's a good mix of it's grounded in reality, but it's just pushed enough so that it's funny, but nothing ever kind of repeats itself.
Right.
In a way. They get separated by various means. Now all of a sudden he needs a car. Well, the car company fucks up. But Dell gets a car, so they get the car. But then they have all the problems in the car. The car eventually gets burnt down by Dell's cigarette that he believes he flicks out the window. It goes into the back seat.
Right.
There's just moments like that all the time where it's it's almost like a Coen Brothers movie where they just throw everything in their way and see how they can just fuck with their character.
Right. It's not a comedy of errors, but it's like almost a comedy of errors.
It's like a cosmic comedy.
They just know they cannot
how many
win.
Things can go wrong,
right?
And how are they going to respond to it every step of the way?
Right. So, I mean, ultimately, I think it's a great movie. It starts off really slow, which is also interesting, where it starts off very slow, but I found myself very captivated in that moment where they're sitting on the thing and Steve Martin's like, I gotta go, you know? And I felt like, I'm like, I am interested in what happens next. You know what I mean? And I feel like the movie never loses that. Where even when he yells at even when someone fucks up and they do something you don't like, you're never like, I'm out, right? You're always like, okay, well, how are they gonna? Where does this go next? You know what I mean?
And that opening scene is kind of funny in its own way.
Oh, it definitely is.
Completely in the obnoxious way of like, the ad exec is just staring, and then he kind of puts it down, kind of leans forward. And then there's the great physical moment. Everybody kind of leans forward. He opens his mouth, and he keeps looking at the picture. Yeah. It's just from the moment this movie starts, you know what he's up against. It's like just the incompetency of the world in his eyes.
There's just also in this movie, there's this romantic notion that like riding on a train is nice. You know what I mean? I feel like this movie does represent train travel for what it is, which is a bus that's on rails.
Yep.
And it's just like... Yeah, dude, like, I don't know, like, we have this Harry Potter notion of, like, a train is so magical, and there's wood, and it's, you have this sleeper car, and it's like, no, dude, it's just a seat.
If you can actually get a sleeper car, then yeah, maybe it's pretty cool, because then you kind of have your own room, but yeah, if you're just on a seat, it's a bus that can only go certain directions.
Is there nice trains these days?
Oh yeah, there's nice trains.
Are there?
Amtrak's got some first-class cars.
I'm gonna have to Google this in a later date.
They got it.
Where can we go, Kev?
Probably go to New Orleans from LA. That'd be a good time.
I've heard mixed things about that city. It's kind of like
gotta go in the fall. I hear it stinks in the summer
because everyone's pissing in the streets
and it's hot. So there's that.
Yeah. My friend, fun fact: my friend went for WrestleMania of all things, and his exact text to me was, "This city is a toilet." And I'm like, "Are you being facetious?" And he's like, "I'm being literal."
Wow.
Because people just piss wherever they want.
I mean, voodoo, I guess.
It is what it is. So let's talk. Okay, you want to talk about that car rental scene? Let's talk about it. 18 F-bombs dropped in 1 minute. Why does this scene work?
I think in a lesser comedy, he's yelling his head off in it. He's like screaming at her like all this. I want a fucking car right fucking now, and he's like screaming and being loud. In like, if Carrot Top was in this movie, that's what would happen. Some lesser comedian. Steve Martin is just this little ball of rage, but a controlled ball of rage. And he's just steely-eyed, just barely on the brink of insanity. I think that really sells it. And then there's the capper of the sweet lady who's just like, oh, I'm sorry, you're fucked. Yeah. And it's
Edie McClure.
Edie McClure.
Another fun fact, I worked on a short film starring Edie McClure.
Did you now?
Which it was called something Edie McClure, and it was about her getting dating or something.
All right.
Yep.
Is she a nice person? What's Edie McClure?
She was nice to me. I was some PA.
That's good.
But that was
she was in another John Hughes movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
She's she said, I think he's a righteous dude.
Yeah.
Principal Rooney's secretary.
Indeed.
So,
I think that one thing why this works is because he's only using the word fuck. And the way he uses it is good, right?
It's the only time it's used in the movie.
Right.
And it's the only reason this movie has an R rating.
Really. Well, there's also some nudity in that. In
the shady guy's cab, there's porn on the ceiling. But,
Also, great cab. He uses the word fuck, and I think if you threw in some other cursing, it would kind of lessen the focus of that scene.
Yeah.
There's a good rhythm there. But what I think is that it's funny because he's a flawed character, and we've just seen him we've built up to this moment, right, where he gets stranded. He essentially breaks up with Dell, gets stranded in the middle of his parking lot, has to walk across the runway and the highway to like get back to the thing, right? So we understand why he's upset.
His shoes are fucked up. He's cold.
Which, yeah, exactly, right? Then, but the thing is, I think, and here's the critical little nugget here, is that he goes in this profanity-laden rant, which is funny, and the music of it, the rhythm of it is funny, but he doesn't get what he wants in the end.
Yep.
And if he got what he wanted in the end, it wouldn't be funny, right? Because then he's just abusing someone.
Yep.
But there's a humor of him losing his cool, and then her being like, "Well, where's your ticket? You know, where's the proof that you did this?" And he's like, "I don't have it." And she's like, "Well, then you're fucked." You know what I mean?
He's like, "I threw it away."
Yeah, exactly. So I think if the scene ended with him getting another rental car, it wouldn't have been funny. It would be sad and abusive.
Yeah.
But because this is playing into his character flaw of he just can't deal with the comfort of, you know, like he just can't deal with the situation. It is completely ruined him, you know.
Yep.
That's what's funny about it.
Every like person you've ever seen at a restaurant blow up because their food was cold or something. That's Neil Page.
Yeah, or someone who is shitty at an airline rental place, or you know, literally this, or at an airline. It's like, come on.
Yep.
Or if you've ever yelled at anyone at a movie theater. Also, if you ever yelled at anyone in a movie theater, turn this podcast off and delete us from your feed.
Yep.
Fuck you.
We don't like you.
You know. You yelled at a teenager earning a quarter over minimum wage because you didn't like how expensive your ticket prices is. Because that person sets the price?
Yep.
Get out of here.
Eat a dick.
You're no good. Very funny scene. Following up on Steve Martin's character here, he claims on day 2, when he thinks that Dell has robbed him, he claims to have had over $700 in his wallet, which means that he had $75 extra that he lost to the lawyer, which means that he had, I think at this point, 2 cab fares.
Yep.
So he's walking around with maybe $1,000. Is that am I
This is the
poor?
late 80s, man.
Okay.
This is the late 80s. People used cash a lot more. He's an ad exec who gets to go to New York and lives.
This is the time before debit cards, right?
And yeah, there's no debit card. His credit card. It's kind of an emergencies only thing. Like,
You think so?
It's not throughout the movie. It's not their first instinct to use their credit card. It's when his cash is stolen. That's when Dell's like, okay, we can charge our way home. He didn't take the credit cards, but you know they just weren't as big of a thing back then. A guy like that would probably have $1,000 in his wallet, you know. And you know, and then Dell has 200, he says, and then that's again a rift between them. Is Neil is obviously very much in the 1%, and Dell, that might be the only $200 he has. You know?
You think so?
Might be
In the whole world?
He has this, it could be. He's homeless. He's got nowhere to go.
I think
he's got no bank account.
I think he has. I think he has a bank account. I think he's a successful. He seems to be a successful
shower curtain ring salesman.
Which I like how they give him that. I like how they give him. He's not terrible at everything in life. You know, he's good at his job because from selling shower curtain rings, he knows a bunch of people, right? And they all look at him very fondly.
Yeah, everywhere they go, he knows like the hotel clerk, the cab guy. There's one other person. But yeah,
he always has buddies who are like, he get us on this train, he get us on this bus.
Yeah,
he has buddies everywhere, and they all seem to legitimately be like, Dell,
yep,
you know.
Yeah, they actually like care about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the scheme he pulls where he has to sell the shower curtain rings as jewelry, signed by Daryl Strawberry, and then he gets him some extra cash, and then that keeps him afloat after they get robbed. So.
It's a strange movie watching this from the perspective of 2015 when we are currently recording this podcast, November.
Yeah.
Because, like, in today's world, right, it's like, if you didn't have money on your debit card, if you lost all your cash, you could move money from your savings to your debit account, you could use your credit card, you could lift somewhere.
You can do that in the phone in your pocket.
Yeah.
The supercomputer that's in your pocket.
Right.
Yeah, this movie...
So it's an interesting little time capsule.
Yeah, being in the 80s helped this plot in a way that's, not arbitrary. It's like, this is how you had to travel in the 80s, and that's why a lot of people didn't do it. You had to find a payphone. You had to have your reservation, but it was all analog, so it could be fucked up really easily, There's no barcodes to scan to be like, oh yeah, your car was taken at this time.
And there's no alert on your phone of, hey, your flight's been delayed.
Exactly.
This is a thing that I want to get into and that I found to be very bizarre with this movie, but like but Steve Martin's relationship with his wife. It's very odd. I feel like she's not sympathetic to his cause. And they don't communicate very much. It's very, I don't know.
You know what? Their communication is so limited, though.
Well,
Again, going back to being in the 80s, where we can just a text message away and we're like, everybody knows exactly where we are.
True.
But yeah, he has to find a payphone. He has to send a telegram. You know, there's no email. There's no nothing. Like,
well,
that's the only way he can communicate is if he can even find a payphone to call his wife.
Speaking of payphones, they get on the flight. The flight that gets rerouted to like Kansas or whatever. He lands. He calls her, and then she's like, "What's going on? Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm in Wichita, Kansas, or wherever." And she's like shocked, like beyond belief, like as if she doesn't understand how air travel works. I don't know. I just felt like her character was very, like, and then when they see each other in the end, it's as if they haven't seen each other in years.
True.
And it's just like, is there things about this I just don't understand? Like, because he lives in Chicago, but he's working in New York, but is that a business trip? Does he commute from New York to Chicago?
Or is that last scene from more of Del Griffith's perspective?
Well, that's an interesting.
That's kind of how watching it now, how I kind of see that, is that that's him. That's what he's longing for, and he might see it in a little different light. You know?
Okay, yes, because that ending, you know, at best is bittersweet. At the worst is like, I don't know, because you know, Steve Martin is driving away in the train, turns around, comes back, picks up Del, says, "You'll come and stay with my family." They're walking up the front step. Del's like, "I'll stay for a minute," and Steve Martin's like, "Just come in, right?" And you think that we're gonna get a real sweetheart moment. But then he walks in and Del is like fidgeting with his hat. There's a close-up of Del fidgeting with his hat. And then every time we cut back to Del's face, we're cutting to like Grandpa's face, other Grandpa's face, Grandma's face, wife's face, kid's face, Steve Martin's face. Every time we come back to Del, it's like he's forcing this weird smile. And it's like, is this Del's like own private circle of hell right now? Like, what's going on here? It just feels like he's very uncomfortable.
I think he just hasn't had that in so long. He hasn't had that in at least 8 years. Because he's been homeless that amount of time. He has no wife. He has no family.
Right.
Just living on the road. And, like, he can't... Somebody is finally giving that to him. And I think he just doesn't know... For somebody who tries to give so much, he doesn't know how to take.
I guess I think you're right. But I feel like in that moment, the movie, I think... you know, and turning into a sentimental old fool. But I feel like that in that moment, the movie needs to give us a little bit more hope. Like, I wish he was like...
It ends on him giving a smile and a freeze frame on the smile.
Yeah, but the genesis of that smile felt very forced.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, I wish it ended with him, like, hanging out with the kids or talking about a turkey or something. You know what I mean? I just...
You want him to prove he's human, basically. To prove he can take that emotion.
I mean, I know that he's human. I guess I wanted it to end with the idea that he's going to be fine.
Fan theory, he's a replicant. Look at the eyes! Look at the red eyes!
That also explains why he keeps making little tiny unicorns.
Yep. It's too bad he won't live. That's for another episode.
Yep. Coming soon.
So to kind of build off that, when I was researching, doing a little more digging on this movie...
You found out that Deckard was a replicant.
What? I had no idea. Roger Ebert, included this in his Great Movies book. So to him, it's a seminal film, and I think it's a seminal film too. Roger Ebert was in New York, went to a bar. There was John Candy smoking a cigarette, having a beer, whatever. Back when you could smoke indoors.
Oh, also in this movie, guys like smoking on a plane.
Oh yeah,
for shame.
People are smoking everywhere.
Shame on you.
And Neil hates it. Like that's part of his upper class neuroses. Is like, oh, you smoke. It's like you're disgusting. Smoking's gross. Anyways, Roger Ebert sits down, talks to John Candy. As he kind of gets to know him a little more, he realizes like Del Griffith is kind of John Candy. Like, that eager to please, aw shucks attitude is really him. And then Steve Martin kind of really brilliantly plays against that to get out some real emotion. And that the first time you really see it is in the hotel room freak-out scene. When he's doing his, his cleared out thing. and Steve Martin flips out, he turns the light on, and just tears into him for being who he is. And there's shots of John Candy where it's like real pain in his face.
Right.
You know,
He's going to a very sad and lonely place.
Yeah, and he says something like, "Oh, I see," or some. I think it's "Oh, I see" is the line, and that line I think is very charged. Of like this, it's not the first time anybody's ever said this to him, but this is the meanest time anybody's ever said. It's like this is just who I am, and it's I'm trying to be a good person, and apparently that's what John Candy was actually like.
Interesting.
Was always that very outgoing, eager to please person, and if he couldn't please somebody, that he took it personally. And yeah, for Steve Martin to really do that character that way and cut that deep, I think he got something out of John Candy.
Yeah.
In that, and that's why they both say it's their favorite film that they've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that's interesting. It's interesting that he's basically you're taking what someone is in that scene is brutal.
Yeah.
Right. And in the narrative, right, it kind of sets up the stakes of the movie where it's just like, these guys are going to be together, and they are at ends like that. But I like how in that scene, Del, he defends himself, and he's like, my wife likes me, I like me, and like, hey, I'm not your cup of tea, but like, don't think that you're better than me. You're a stuck-up weirdo too, But yeah, it's interesting that's John Candy's demon, basically. Mm-hmm. That and like,
this is Roger Ebert talking. But he knows a thing or two, And it's like, I believe that, using that kind of, not against him, but in a way to kind of bring out a more tortured performance is that's what separates this from, Animal House.
And yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing, right? Where it's like, maybe that's why another reason why this movie resonates so well is because John Candy is able to pull that element into it. Whereas, in another 80s comedy, what is Val Kilmer pulling into weird science?
Yeah.
We all love weird science, but,
for different reasons.
Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's like these performances do feel that kind of, there is that extra little thing and you're right. Like in that scene, his glassy eyes feel terrible to look at.
You can see the Bing Bong or where they got it for Bing Bong and Inside Out. Like it's that scene. You can really see it.
Fucking Bing Bong. All right. Well, on that interesting note, do you want to get into some nitpicks here?
Let's do some nitpicks.
Okay. Go.
That score. Jesus Christ.
You didn't like it?
No.
Oh, interesting.
The score is my least favorite thing about it. It's so 80s. Somewhere out there's got to be a remix of like a more traditional score in this thing.
An analog watch with no numbers on it? What am I, a rocket scientist?
Their kind of last adventure is a little I think this movie's a little anticlimactic. Their last adventure is just a truck, and then they're there.
Yeah.
It seems like they need one more big hump to get over before we get the big cathartic moment. But maybe that's on purpose because the big cathartic moment.
Well, no, and I agree with that because, and also like plot wise, when they crash their car, they're specifically next to a sign that says 100 miles to Chicago, and then they start driving their car towards Chicago, and then they get pulled over, the car gets impounded, and then they get it takes them 3 more hours to get there, and it seems like the movie falls apart on multiple levels in that last little bit. Where it's like 3 hours. Is this highway going 30 miles an hour?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah, it's between them, the car getting impounded and then getting there. It's a little rough.
Also, planes in this movie and really all movies are depicted as very stationary objects, very like no movement at all. In reality, planes are loud, they're bumpy, they shake, they drop, and they're just all around jolty death traps. Fuck planes. I like automobiles.
I've never had a problem on a plane.
Don't like them. Go ahead.
That's all I got for nitpicks.
Sinus thing, so gross. The hit guy, so gross. Payphones, so gross.
I love the hit guy.
Ugh.
People trying to go out of Come, Bill.
Ugh, God, good God. Also, Del, for a character that has been on the road for 8 continuous years, he really has no concept of a plan when things go to shit. I mean, he's doing a great job of like improvising as he goes along, but he doesn't have a lot of cash on him.
He says, I go with the flow.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I guess you're right. He doesn't exactly have like traveling clothes. And speaking of that, I know people do this a lot where they travel in like a suit. That seems like the most miserable thing in the world.
If you have a nice 3-piece suit, it's very comfortable. If you have a shitty 3-piece suit, I agree. If you got something from Men's Warehouse, you know, yeah, you're gonna be shitty all day.
I'm just saying, like, I don't like having my shirt tucked in regularly, much less at altitude, while I'm being shaken and thrown around on an airplane. All right, let's get into some cool stuff here. Kevin fucking Bacon is in this movie for one scene.
Just a little bit, but he makes his presence known. I like the shot of when they first get to Wichita, and it's just a bunch of pig assholes.
Oh, okay. So I was watching this movie with Emily, and so we see the pigs, right? And she thinks pigs are cute for the most part.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, look, pigs. And then she has this weird look on her face, and then she just says, pigs assholes.
It's just a row of red pig assholes.
Yeah.
And it's just, it encapsulates...
That didn't go unnoticed in this house.
It encapsulates the mood of, like, Wichita
Yeah.
so well through this movie's lens.
Oh, man.
The between two pillows scene is classic for many reasons.
It's a little... I don't like to interrupt when you're saying your cool things. I find that scene to be a little homophobic.
All right.
A little bit.
It was the 80s.
It was the 80s.
The scene where they're just drinking and bullshitting and having a good time, that's great. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a human moment.
Mirrored with the scene where they're singing on the bus. Flintstones. That's
Yeah.
so good.
Yep. My God, so many others.
So many good...
The 18 fuck scene is classic.
Right. And so many good lines in this movie. Just like, you know, when the lawyer's like, anyone who pay $50 for a cab ride would gladly pay $75. It's like, you're a thief. Close. I'm a lawyer. It's like they keep adding on to these jokes, and it's just it works so well.
Going into watching this again, I was like, God, I hate that montage scene. But I watch it again.
Which one?
When he's riding the train and he's remembering kind of all their adventures. I'm like, oh, this is kind of a little mini clip show. But it builds up to him realizing...
Yeah, it's not for nothing.
Yeah, that Dell is homeless.
Yeah.
And I think you can't just have him sit there and then realize Dell is homeless. He kind of has to go through... the trip again. And then... So, yeah, I did...
Because that is his problem. Is he's a thoughtless person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that is a moment that they do pay off. Although, I think that moment is done much more terribly in many other movies.
Oh, yeah. It's... And, yeah, I always put that up there with that. But watching it again, I really see why they do the full montage. And it's not just a clip show to remind you of, like, wasn't this funny? It builds up to, oh, that was funny, that was great. And then he kind of puts the pieces together. Mm-hmm. I like when the car sets on fire and they turn around and they don't freak out. They don't lose their shit. They just kind of acknowledge it and then they laugh at it.
Yeah. So in the end, do you like this movie and does it work?
Absolutely. Of course it does. This movie, it lives and dies on the two central characters, and you could not have gotten better people than John Candy and Steve Martin.
I agree with you completely. I do think that the ending makes it bittersweet, and I'm not sure how I feel about that ending. But the journey is very fun, and I think this is an outstanding Christmas movie, all in all, right? Where you're balancing sad loneliness and things of that nature and whatever, and, you know, learning new things about each other and the whole world with having fun, fucking... You know, lighting cars on fire, going the wrong way on the freeway, making jokes, swearing at ladies, not getting your car, etc., etc.
One other cool thing, when they hit the middle of the two semi-trucks when they're going the wrong way on the highway.
And it shaves the car.
Well, we just go down that really brief, surreal, like, they're two skeletons.
Yeah.
He looks over, he's a devil, and it's like 3 seconds of just surreal weirdness, and then it's done.
Yeah,
like, they never go back to it, and it's just, in that moment, it's brilliant. Mm-hmm. You know, John Hughes... He proves he's not just a teenage guy. Like, he understands adult issues, and they're very interconnected of what's our place in the world, who are we, and what can we learn.
Right.
Basically.
And all of that is earned. That's not just done. It's not just put out there. It's actually set up and paid off, which is very rewarding.
It's not a shitty comedy with a tacked-on message at the end. It earns that message every step of the way, while also being viciously funny.
Do you have a sequel pitch or a fan theory? I know you think he's a replicant. We can move on away from that.
Fan theory, his name, I believe, is D.W. Griffith. Maybe he was part of that family of D.W. Griffith, the director, who, of course, later in life lost all of his money. Maybe was supposed to be entrusted with some money and did not get it. therefore he has to sell shower curtain rings. Maybe.
I have a sequel / remake pitch of, maybe the idea, I guess, is that it's in maybe the same world or just a remake or whatever. But basically, you just do this movie again. Same concept. Two guys stuck in, trying to get home for Thanksgiving. You hit my boy Joey Jojo. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays the Steve Martin character. And then I don't know who plays the other character. Maybe a Seth Rogen. Maybe you don't do it that way. Maybe they're both kind of suave dudes, but just different. I don't know. Tom Hardy. I like that. So Tom Hardy and just Joey Jojo gotta get home for the holidays, and got team
How
up.
do you complicate this story with the internet and smartphones, though?
Well,
because that's going to be your big hump.
Rolling power outages is hard to charge your phone, right? And then the comedy of getting the message when it's too late. So he gets up to the counter and he's like, the flight 751 to Chicago O'Hare. Oh, have you gotten the message that flight's been canceled? What? And then you have one new message. Your flight has been canceled.
True.
Yeah. So you incorporate that into it. You don't try to.
But it is a lot of new challenges. Planes, trains, and automobiles can definitely. This story can only exist in a world where there's no internet, no smartphones.
Right.
But yeah, if you're gonna adapt it, there's a lot of other hurdles you got to get to make this journey hard.
Right. So. And you could do scenes, like where they're trying to book a train on a tablet, but it's like the train's website doesn't really lend itself to like doing this because it's a train. And then like you book him on, and he books himself on a freight train, and he's like, oh shit, you know what I mean, etc. etc.
It could work.
I'm saying etc. too much in this episode. Maybe I'll edit all those out. Probably not. Kev, you got anything else to say?
This episode's coming around Thanksgiving, so we're gonna say Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, indeed.
Eat your pumpkin pie. Eat your stuffing. Eat your.
We can leave it there. Pumpkin pie and stuffing.
Your slutty brownies, which I'm gonna make for our works.
What's a slutty brownie?
Brownie, Oreos, cookies, on top of each other, like cookie dough, all in like a bar.
Oh, so it is a bar.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
It's very, very good.
Also, we'll talk about turkey and all these things, but really, let's just be real. We're in it for the stuffing, and we're in it for the pie.
Yeah.
There's just nothing else. Potatoes, listen, if there wasn't 3 kinds of potatoes, everyone would throw a hissy fit. But at the end of the day, you're here for that stuffing.
Yep.
Save it for the pie.
All day, every day.
So, Kev, you wrote this episode?
Indeed, I did.
I hosted it. Mr. Jibber Jabber. Kev, you were also hosting it.
Yeah.
Kev. Our music's by Jeff Russell. Until next time, let's hit the road.
Holiday road. Man, we gotta clear the rights for that.
Nope.
Does that fall under fair use?
It does.
I hope so.
See you later.
Yeah, Fair Use Act forever.
Ready?
Ready.
Welcome to... No.
Oh, let the plane go by.
Just say his debit card is like...
His debit card is like...
Wait for...
Yeah. I do what I'm told. That plane was especially loud.
It was. Oh, you want to go now?
Yeah.